The containment alarms began exactly 4 minutes too late. That wasn't my opinion. That wasn't a theory formed after the disaster. It was the final conclusion of the investigation that no government would ever admit had taken place. I know this because I was there. My name is Dr. Adrian Mercer, Chief Director of Project 887. For almost 13 years, I believed science could solve every mystery nature placed before us. Every impossible question was simply waiting for better technology, better mathematics, or better minds. I was wrong. Some discoveries don't expand civilization. Some discoveries simply teach you why they should never have been made. The facility was buried almost 2 kilometers beneath solid Arctic ice, where satellites saw nothing except endless white snow. Official maps marked the location as a geological research station. Even the supply aircraft believed they were delivering equipment to climate scientists. Only those of us inside knew the truth. Behind 32 reinforced security doors existed the largest secret laboratory ever constructed. Every hallway was spotless, every experiment documented, every movement monitored by artificial intelligence. Nothing entered unnoticed. Nothing left without authorization. That was the promise. The lie revealed itself at exactly 3:17 in the morning. I remember the time because I was reading Subject 887's latest neurological scan when every monitor on my desk flickered at once. Not black, just empty. 7 seconds. Every camera in the facility displayed nothing except static. No explosion, no electrical failure, no emergency warning, just silence. Then the picture returned. At first, nothing looked different. Researchers continued walking through Laboratory 3. Maintenance drones continued cleaning the western corridor. The reactor remained perfectly stable. The oxygen systems showed 100% efficiency. Everything appeared exactly as it had been 7 seconds earlier. Everything, except containment chamber 12. The glass cylinder stood illuminated beneath its observation lights. The life support systems were still running. The biometric monitors still displayed an active heartbeat. The chamber door remained completely sealed, but the chamber itself was empty. I stared at the screen for several seconds without speaking. Someone beside me laughed nervously. There has to be a camera delay. Another scientist leaned closer. No, maybe maintenance removed him. A security officer checked his tablet. There are no authorization records. The room became quiet. Not because anyone understood what had happened. Because nobody could explain what they were looking at. Subject 887 hadn't escaped through the door. The door had never opened. The biometric locks still showed a perfect security record. Pressure sensors confirmed the chamber had remained sealed. The reinforced glass had no fractures. Every electronic seal remained intact. It was as though the man inside had simply ceased to exist. Then something happened that terrified me even more. The heartbeat monitor was still active. Whatever had left that chamber was still somewhere inside the facility. The first rule of Project 887 was simple. Never enter the chamber alone. The second rule was even more important. Never wake Subject 887 without the entire research team present. But after the chamber became empty, every rule we created suddenly became useless. Because the one thing we had spent 13 years preparing for was the one thing we never truly believed would happen: an escape. The entire facility entered emergency lockdown within 30 seconds. Steel doors sealed every corridor. Elevators stopped between floors. Communication lines connected only to authorized personnel. The artificial intelligence controlling the facility began scanning every room, every ventilation tunnel, every maintenance passage. Nothing, no movement, no heat signature, no visible presence. It was as if Subject 887 had disappeared into the walls. I stood inside the control room watching the search results appear on the main screen. Director Mercer, Security Commander James Vale said quietly, "We need to know what we're looking for." I turned toward him. He already knew the answer. Everyone did. The problem was that nobody wanted to say it. "We are not looking for a person," I replied. The room became silent, because Subject 887 had started as a person. But after 13 years of experimentation, nobody knew what remained. The original purpose of Project 887 was never to create a weapon. Rabbit was created because humanity had reached a limit. The human brain could only process a certain amount of information. Memory had limits, learning had limits, reaction time had limits. But what if those limits could be removed? What if the human mind could adapt beyond its natural design? That was the question that created Subject 887. The first volunteers failed. Their brains could not handle the changes. Their nervous systems collapsed. Their bodies rejected the modifications. Then we discovered something unexpected. The human brain was not the only thing adapting. The entire body was changing with it. Subject 887 was the first successful case. His intelligence increased beyond every recorded human measurement. His reaction speed became faster than any trained soldier. His ability to understand patterns became almost impossible to measure. But there was one problem. He began understanding us faster than we understood him. 3 weeks before the escape, he asked me a question I still hear every night. Dr. Mercer, when will you stop calling this an experiment? I remember looking at him through the glass. I remember feeling uncomfortable, because he wasn't angry. He wasn't afraid. He sounded disappointed, like a scientist watching another scientist make a mistake. Now, standing in that control room, I finally understood something. Subject 887 didn't escape because he wanted freedom. He escaped because he had learned enough. The search continued for 6 hours. Nothing. Then at 9:42 in the morning, one camera activated. Not because it detected movement, because someone turned it on. The screen showed Laboratory 7, an area that had been abandoned for 3 years. The camera slowly moved across the empty room, then stopped. Written on the glass wall was a message. 3 words: I am ready. Nobody spoke. Nobody moved, because everyone in that room understood the same thing. Subject 887 was not hiding. He was waiting. The next message appeared 30 seconds later. You should have asked why. And that was when I realized the truth. We had spent 13 years studying Subject 887, but we never considered that maybe he had been studying us. The facility alarm suddenly stopped. Every screen went black. Then my personal monitor turned on. A live video appeared. It was the inside of Containment Chamber 12, the same chamber that was supposed to be empty. Subject 887 was standing there, looking directly into the camera, looking directly at me. And he said my name, Dr. Mercer. My blood turned cold, because his voice was exactly the same as it had been before the escape. But his eyes were different. I need you to see what you created. The screen changed. A map of the world appeared. Thousands of locations highlighted in red. Places where Project 887 technology had secretly been installed. Places where other experiments had already begun. My hands started shaking, because Project 887 was never the only project. It was only the first. Subject 887 looked back into the camera. You thought I was the experiment. A pause. You were wrong. The screen went dark. For the first time in 13 years, I was afraid of the thing we created. Not because it escaped, but because it was trying to warn us. And whatever was coming next was something even Subject 887 was afraid of.